Welcome to the Pat Sheranian Show. Thank you so much for being with us today at KHQN 1480 AM and also on pat.utahvalleylive.com. Are you ready for Christmas? Well, none of us ever will be, you know. There are always things we keep trying to get done, and we hope for today we can do it and tomorrow and be ready. So don't overstress yourself. Take a deep breath and sit down and enjoy it before you wear yourself out. Take a few minutes and sit down with us, because today I have a very special show. I have a couple of people coming on that are very accomplished. Over the years, I've said to anybody that will listen to me, I don't have any talent, but I can promote yours. So that's really what I do. And today, I'm very fortunate to have Neil Millman on with me. And I bumped into his sister, Lynn Millman, Weininger. Boy, I'm telling you, I've had trouble with that.
Don't worry, nobody can pronounce it.
Well, I do the Sheranian. You'd be amazed how that's been pronounced and spelled. But I was fortunate to meet his sister and then to meet him. And when I saw and heard what he was doing, I thought, I have to share this. So I think it's very fitting right here before Christmas that we have these subjects that are going to be on with us. So in the first half hour, Neil is going to be talking about love at work. Now, that's intriguing to me. I thought, well, what does that mean? And so he's going to tell us. We're going to start out finding out a little bit about you, Neil. We want to know where you've been and what you've done and if we like you. Utah County, you know, we have to like people. Everywhere else in the world, we just work with them. But in Utah County, we connect so tight that you become lifetime friends in an instant almost. So tell me, where are you from? Where were you born and raised? And how did you get here to Provo?
Well, I was born in Massachusetts back in 1952. Pretty much lost most of my New England accent by this point because I've lived 50 years this summer here in Utah County. Now, I haven't lived here the whole 50 years, though, because I've had a chance to live in Nevada, where I went to high school. I've lived in many other states. And since college, 35 years ago, I've lived all over the world. I've lived in 11 countries. And I'm a traveler. I love to travel. And that's kind of my background. And I'm an expatriate. I love living in different countries, and it's been a very
interesting
educational experience. And so,
how many languages do you speak?
I only speak English and a bit of Spanish. I'm not very linguistically talented, but I'm a geographer. I studied at BYU, got my degree,
Wait, back up. Don't go past that. What did you plan on doing with that?
Well, at the time, I thought I would go into teaching high school, becoming a high school teacher. I never did my student teaching, however, so that dream kind of went to the wayside. I thought of going on to higher education, getting a PhD, and so I thought I'd take a year off to travel the world. That was after college, after I got my BA. But that year turned into 20 years as I continued traveling and experiencing different cultures. I just loved living abroad. So I ended up coming back to Provo because my mom was here, my sisters were here, and it was kind of a home base. And so now I'm back here, and I've essentially been here now for the past 12 years, ongoing. And 9 years ago, I got married, so now I'm pretty much tied to Provo and Utah County. Whereas if I wasn't married, I might very well be living somewhere else right now.
Well, I'm glad you're tied down a little bit.
Well, it's a good place to be.
Now, you're an artist.
I'm a photographer.
Right.
I am from an artistic family.
Yes, but I think I've seen
some
some of your work, and it's amazing. You have captured life in the camera, and I always think that falls into that category. This is art. You're not just out shooting leaves and clouds.
That's right.
Which can be beautiful, but this, I've noticed some of your pictures are really amazing because you've captured feelings, and then I think that falls in a little bit different category.
Well, the reason I like geography is because it is all-inclusive. It's the whole world. It's people, it's places, it's things, it's history, it's nature. I love all these things. And so I take pictures from sort of a geographical perspective. A picture has to tell a story.
Right.
It has to answer who, what are they doing, why. And so I kind of try to embed larger questions into my pictures.
Well, now, I mentioned this right when we started talking, that you have an organization. It's a nonprofit 501c3 organization called Love at Work.
That's right.
So before I step right into that, I just realized I didn't ask you about your family, because you have this amazing family, and I think we should hear about the family before we go into your specific.
Yes, I'm not quite as well known as some of my siblings, but I have a reputation of my own. And my sister Lynn, who will be on after me, is quite well known here in Utah Valley, actually throughout the church. She's a member of the church, and she's done some beautiful artwork that has been purchased and published by the church. We had an older sibling named Dean. He was our older brother. He passed away in 1977 from leukemia, but he was an art prodigy. He was a true artist, not just someone who goes to school to study art. He was a truly born artist, and he was a great personality. He was one of these bigger-than-life personalities. If he was alive right now, you'd be interviewing him rather than me. But Dean was
he filled up the room when he walked in it.
That's right. Okay. That's right. And many people, even after 50 years, they remember him here in the Valley. People ask me, "Are you any relation to Dean?" How did you know Dean? So he has a lot of friends here. He studied with a lot of the top artists currently popular right now. But Dean began his reputation when he was only 13 years old.
Really?
He was the youngest person to ride a bicycle across the United States. See, back in 1961, 61, just shortly after we had moved from Massachusetts to Utah, he was 13 years old. He wanted to go back visit his friends in Massachusetts.
He got on the bike and said, "Bye, Mom."
He had a 10-speed bicycle, and our parents gave him permission. They understood how mature he was for his age. And he rode 2,500 miles on a bicycle.
Well, now, I know enough about bicycles. The tires didn't make it that far. And he
had a lot of flats.
Problems with weather. Yeah. And other things to overcome. Did a car go with him? Did someone
No, he went alone. That's a whole story in and of itself. And next summer will mark the 50th anniversary of that epic journey.
You got to come back and take us on that journey.
We'll tell you about that.
That would be really amazing.
But we were in Dean's shadow for many years. Me, Lynn, and also another brother, David, who's a great artist, and he's an art teacher in Spanish Fork at junior high there. Okay. And then my sister Lisa is also dabbles in art, although she's a great, she mainly does art framing. Okay. But we're all, our parents gave us a lot
There is Dean, and then David, and yourself, and Lisa, and Lynn, is that right? Lynn. Okay.
And there's an older brother too, Ken. He didn't pursue art, but he went into literature. He's a writer. And he worked for the Miami Herald for many years. He was a columnist. Yes.
So were your folks very talented in the arts?
They could have been, but they had to raise 6 kids, and it was hard for them.
They didn't have a chance.
So, but they encouraged it. They supported us, and they encouraged us. They knew that we might not become rich through art, but they knew that we loved art, and they inspired us.
Oh, I think this is terrific. Okay, now with all of that and that background, how did you? Where's the segue? You're traveling, you're doing all of these things, and you come up with the title because something triggered inside of you a feeling. That we haven't talked about this, so I'm learning as you are. So, okay, what happened?
Well, give a little bit of background. As a traveler, going through all these countries, I wasn't a rich traveler. I was poor. I lived on a shoestring, and I saw sources and live rough and sleep rough and everything. And so I met all kinds of interesting people, strange characters, wonderful people. I found that overall, the poor people were nicer than the rich people. And the poorer the people are, the more generous they are.
That's interesting.
Okay?
Yeah.
So I've always had a special feeling and heart for the destitute, for the poor. I wanted to do something to help alleviate poverty in the world and help people develop their talents, their abilities, and live up to their potential. I wanted to find a solution to some of the problems of poverty in the world.
That was part of that wanting to teach at one time.
Yeah, and being in education. I love education.
Okay.
But there's another aspect to being a traveler, and that is when you're traveling, you are, especially as an American, if you're an American, everybody assumes you're rich. And
else you wouldn't be traveling.
And therefore, you are a target for getting robbed. And I've been robbed numerous times. I've been pickpocketed, and I've been taken.
Really?
I've met all kinds of awful people as well as good people. But amongst these people who have robbed me have been a class of people called street kids. These are young adults, adolescents usually, who live on the street, who don't have families. They become involved with crime and drugs, who knows what. But they survive on the street day to day, usually at the expense of other people. And I have sometimes been their target. I had seen these kids throughout the world. I knew that they existed, and I avoided them because if you get too close to them, you don't know what is going to happen.
Right.
But 12 years ago, I had a life-changing experience. And this is what's great for the Christmas program, because I wanted to know what the Lord wanted me to do with my life as a vocation, to make a difference in the world. And after many years of traveling and seeing the world, I thought it might be an education. I thought I should get a master's in education and teach. Because if you can change lives and teach people how to help others, then you're really helping a lot.
Sure. And
I thought that would be an automatic answer. If I asked the Lord, should I go into education after all these years, get a master's degree? He would say yes. Why not? You know. Well, I took the question to the Lord. I fasted, I prayed, as the Book of Mormon and the Doctrine and Covenants advise us to do, and I was ready to get my confirmation. I took the question to the Lord. I prayed, and the answer that came was not what I expected. The answer was very immediate, very direct, and very clear. Help street children.
Wow.
And so from that point on...
Huge challenge.
Well, yes, but who else could have accepted that challenge? Anybody else, a normal person, would not know what a street child was, for one thing, or they'd be too scared and overwhelmed at the idea of, what can I do? So, and I was overwhelmed. I did not know what I was going to do. But I said, okay, I will do it. If you want me to, I will do what you want me to do. So that was my answer to the Lord. And the past 12 years have been the most remarkable experience I've had in getting to know street kids and things. Now, this segues into what I want to tell you about the creation of Love at Work and a book that I've just finished writing, because
Good.
10 years ago today, as a matter of fact.
Anniversary, all right.
10 years ago today, I undertook the most incredible journey of my life. And I have been on dozens of journeys all over the world. I've been to Africa, Asia, Europe, South America, and I have had adventures. But what began 10 years ago today, as I entered Mexico for a journey down through Central America, changed my life forever. Because this was a journey I set out to understand street kids firsthand, to get to know them. Photograph, film, make a documentary about street kids. No real plan other than I need to find out. Before I can help them, I need to understand them. I need to. So rather than taking a direct flight to Colombia, my plan was to go to Colombia. I had lived in Colombia for 2 years. I saw the street kids there. I had a deep commitment to return and to help the street kids in Colombia. And that's what I set out to do. But instead of getting a flight directly to Colombia, I thought I would go overland through Mexico and Central America.
You are crazy. You do know.
Well, I'm different. If you're
a
geographer, a traveler, as I am,
okay,
sometimes
different.
the road is better than the air.
Okay,
for experience. You can't see that many street kids from the air.
That's true. You certainly
can't.
So
I set out.
I'm in your footsteps as you're talking, though, and I'm thinking, give me the plane.
Well,
you had to, though, to do what you were doing.
I had to. So 10 years ago today, I crossed the border from Nogales, Arizona, into Nogales, Mexico, got on a bus, which would take me to Guadalajara, and then I would travel through Morelia, where I was Christmas Day. And on this journey, I met some of the most incredible people. And I also met street kids, and I started to film them. I had my very first video camera, much like the one that's filming me now.
I'd like to think this one
I
is
got
newer.
to see things I had never seen before. And I had seen poverty, I had seen street kids, but not to the depth I did on this trip. Now, miracles happen on this trip, and I will not relate them here because it would take too many hours. What I have done, and it took me 10 years to finish finally, was write a book about it. And it has yet to be published.
But it's on a DVD?
I have it on CD. It's on PDF.
All right, good. And wait, let's tell them how they can get it. Okay?
Okay.
All
well,
right.
First of the name is Miraculous Journey, because it is about a series of miracles that happen on this journey.
All right, so this CD is Miraculous Journey, and the phone number to call to have one of these to you is 801-372-1766. 801-372-1766. Go to your internet, but people are.
We have a website now.
Yeah. Why don't you give that?
The website is advocatesforstreetkids.com. It's all one word, advocatesforstreetkids.com.
Okay, and so this is your book. Mm-hmm. So we've got that out ready to go.
Hopefully by next year it'll be published.
Okay. Uh-huh. All right, then. So you have this desire. You're down on the ground. You're now getting into it, and and this was 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. Did the name come all at once, Love at Work?
No.
Or
That's a different story. When I first started this, I thought I didn't know where to go or what. I thought I want to reach out internationally. I want to connect cultures. I want to connect, and so I came up with this audacious name, Global Bridges International. Now that's a real mouthful, and trying to write it out. And so after a year or two of using Global Bridges International, I thought I got to come up with something short and more succinct. And one night in bed, as I was mulling over it, I put words together. It's about love. It's about love to work. Applied love. Yeah. So then I said, Love at Work. The acronym is LAW.
Oh,
yeah. And if you think about it in the context of Jesus Christ, he taught the law. He taught the law of God. Right. What is the law of God? To love your fellow man as yourself, right?
Right, absolutely.
So that's how people can remember it, and so it's a lot easier to use Love at Work.
So this is the name of their organization. It's nonprofit.
That's the official name.
You do spend your life raising funds.
Yes, we do fundraise.
I've been the chairman of several boards, and I'll tell you, you spend all your time raising money.
And it's like rolling a rock uphill. It never gets easy, and it never stops. It just keeps going.
Keeps going. Okay. All right. Now, let's get into it, because I want to see some of these. We've got how and why, and let's talk about the program itself. But more importantly, you've brought pictures of the children. Mm-hmm. And so I'll let you just take off and let our board operator, Kelly, know where to go from here.
Well, I don't have a way of controlling what pictures are shown, whatever.
Okay.
But there's one image that I think is the most powerful image of all. And this goes back to when I was living in Colombia about 15 years ago. It's a little boy sleeping on the sidewalk.
Okay, why don't
if you can find that,
and then
put
you
it
just
up.
Talk about them a little bit with us.
That was the experience that changed me more than any other. This is a picture here that you're seeing. These kids are regarded.
Is this a child lying on the street?
It's an adolescent, maybe a teenager. I don't know. But here's the little boy there. He's probably about 10 years old. Now, in our culture, nobody would think of just abandoning a child and having them live on the streets. But down in a lot of these poor countries, it is very common. And these kids are often regarded as throwaway kids. Now, believe it or not. And so there are young kids as young as 4 or 5 that live on the streets and
sleep where they can.
Yeah.
And where was this taken again?
Well, some of the pictures are in Colombia. This one here is Mexico City. This was a young teenager, 19 years old, Alejandrina, 9 months pregnant. She's a crack addict, and she, even though the social workers were trying to help her to come in to get recovery and help, she just would not even respond to that. But you see all kinds of awful situations where once these kids,
go ahead and let's move
they become involved with crime, Kelly, with drugs, substance abuse.
Kelly, let's move forward with them. Okay.
Now, one of the things that these kids are exposed to is police persecution. Now, in addition to having the dishonor of being called throwaway kids and being disregarded by society, they are persecuted by the police because obviously these kids get involved in crime and drugs and so on. Nobody really wants to help them. But the kids have a lot of emotional baggage. They usually come from broken homes,
Will they let
dysfunctional
you approach
families.
Them?
Well, that was the challenge I got into when I went there 10 years ago. I didn't know what I was going to face, whether they was going to rob me or what was going to happen. I had to find a way to break the ice and let them know that I cared for them. I was interested in learning about them and giving them a chance to find out about me and film them.
To our listening audience and also our viewing audience, I'm speaking with Neil Millman, and he is a professional photographer with a great big heart and has created this organization called Love at Work, a nonprofit organization. And if you are interested in his work and donating to him or finding out more about what he's doing, please call Neil at 801-372-1766. 801-372-1766, and chat with him. For our radio audience, we are looking at slides of young people in every possible unpleasant situation. And I guess I have to ask this. Have you been able to rescue them, or is there some organization around your nonprofit that once you see them and leave them, what happens?
Okay, well, to answer that question, I've got to answer another question, and that is, how did I meet my lovely wife, Margarita?
All right.
See, because that was the major outcome of my trip 10 years ago. Not only did I get to see and meet and befriend a lot of these kids, but it also led directly to my meeting Margarita. Let me tell a little bit about that. I never made it to Colombia 10 years ago. I got only as far as Guatemala City.
You didn't fly to Colombia, you went to ground, and now there was a reason.
I was traveling by bus and things, and everything was going wonderful until I got to Guatemala City. And there I brushed up against someone I should not have brushed up against, a professional pickpocket. One of the best. This guy got me. He got my money without even disturbing the pesos or other things I had. He got the $800 cash that was hidden in my money pouch, and he got to it.
Oh my!
And so when I got to the bank, I changed my dollars over for quetzals. Found out I didn't have any dollars left. All the dollars were gone. And so I had to alter my travel plans. I knew I would no longer get on to Colombia. I would have to go back to Mexico. Subsequently, I went to Mexico City. I spent a few weeks in Mexico City where I took a lot of pictures that you'll see up there. Many of the kids, I videoed them. But I went back to the United States. I made a documentary about my experiences and the kids down there. And then when I went to church one Sunday, I was single at this time. I was 48 years old, thought I would never get married, thought I had lost all chance of ever having marital bliss in my life. But I went to a single adult ward one Sunday where I had been going for years and years and years. And this one Sunday, a lovely Latin face shows up, and I had the audacity to try to talk to her. Well, she wasn't too interested in me at first. She thought I was an old dinosaur. But when I found out that she was from Puebla, Mexico, which is one of the cities I was in, and it's in this book, it tells about what I was doing in Puebla, and I had taken a lot of pictures there. And I told her, well, I was in Puebla just a month ago. And she didn't believe me. She thought I was telling her. But when I showed her the pictures that I had taken, well, things changed. She took me more seriously and
got more interested.
And she was especially interested that I was helping the street kids because she had seen them and she wanted to do something to help street kids. She didn't know what to do, but I was the first person she ever met that was working with street kids.
Is this one of the kids on the screen now? Okay.
Yes. Now let me just pause here for a moment here on this picture. Tell the radio
audience, you've got to describe
That's me in the center, and Margarita's on my left.
Okay.
And this is at her house, her mother's house down in Puebla. The young man on my right is his name is Miguel Angel Carrillo, an exceptional young man. He's our hero. He's our example. And we have created a program that we share with the shelters down there called the Street Lights Program. And what Street Lights amounts to, it's finding exceptional adolescents, street kids, who overcome their addictions and problems, who can become positive role models for these other kids. There he is right there. Now, in this picture, he's about 23 years old. When we first met him, he was only 16. We met him when we first went to Mexico back in 2003, shortly after we got married. And we've known him for many years. And there was a span of 5 years in which we didn't see him because he was gone. He was in Europe, and we thought, well, his story is incredible. Let me just take a moment to mention what
You've got about four.
Okay. This kid ran away from home when he was 6 years old due to extreme physical and emotional abuse. His mother was very abusive, and he lived on the streets for 10 years, basically panhandling and surviving by doing household chores for people. He found the Rebirth Foundation, a shelter that we helped in Mexico City when he was about 10 years old. 16 years old. Started getting education, and he was just hungry to learn and to improve his life. This kid was so exceptional that he entered he found a German tourist who was a fencing coach, taught him how to fence. He entered a fencing contest, won first place, national competition, and he won a one-year scholarship to study in Germany.
Wonderful.
And so all in the space of 1 year, from the time we first met him, 16 to age 17, he had been in Germany for a year, speaking German. And so then he went back to Germany. We lost touch with him for 5 years. When we see him later on, he had last year. He came back from Europe after being there for 5 years, just happenstance. He told us about what he had been doing, living in Europe for 5 years, speaks 5 languages. Now he's married a French woman, but he's gone. There he is with a young girl at the shelter. See, he's a hero.
Is he working with you?
No. He's back in France now. He's living in France.
Together.
Well, listening to his life story and talking with the director of the shelter and others, we've gotten the ideas that have created the Street Lights program. Because these kids are starved for affection, but also positive leadership. They need to know who they can follow, because what's their alternative? Gangs and crime. They need positive role models, and this young man and others like him provide the leadership. Now, if you have pictures of the other young men or women down there, there's Martine, there's not this one, but there's
the darling little faces, absolutely darling little faces.
The things that we have done, let me mention this picture here. We have organized humanitarian social projects. We take dentists down with us. We take other volunteers to provide care and other services, and we're doing another big project this summer, so we're looking for volunteers to go with us. But social outreach.
All right, wait, let me give your number. If you'd like to be a volunteer and go with this group, it's 801 is our area code, 372-1766, 372-1766. This is Neil Millman, and when are you planning on going this summer? Do you know
next
yet?
Project will be June or July, probably July.
And volunteers, do they pay their own way down?
Yes,
and come with you?
They pay their own way, but it's tax deductible.
Okay.
It's wonderful. It's about $1,000 for about 10 days.
How many people are you looking for in this
on this expedition, we can have quite a big group, but 20 to 30 people.
Well, that would be fun.
Yeah.
That would really be fun.
Yeah.
And you're going to work with these children.
Yes, we visit shelters. One shelter in particular is called the Rebirth Foundation. That's the one that we've been helping now since 2003. But there are other shelters down there that we have made contact with. They need our help, and so we're providing them with assistance as well. We are facilitators of shelters. We don't create the shelters.
I see.
But we find the people who are doing this work, humanitarian work, helping the kids, rescuing them, and then we provide them with the financial assistance.
So then are you mainly in Colombia and Mexico?
At this point, Mexico and Colombia.
And you would like to do what now?
We'd like to make it worldwide. This is a universal problem. There are 100 million street kids world, 100 million, 40 million in Latin America, and it's growing.
Awful.
As the economy gets worse, more kids are being impacted. See, the economy has terrible effects upon families who are struggling to survive, and if some families who cannot feed all their kids are forced to abandon some of their kids, they just go to the city and say you're on your own now. It's unthinkable, but it happens.
Can't get my mind around that. Yeah. No.
It also increases the rate of abuse, child abuse, and violence.
At least they get out of the home.
Yeah. So some of these kids have to get away.
So then are you able to interact with the kids when you go in the shelters and talk to them? And
when you go into the shelter,
grandpa to these kids?
Absolutely. They come up and they hug you. They are starved for affection. Yeah.
Is there any chance they get adopted, or this is
Well, it depends on the laws and policies of the country. Mexico does not allow international adoptions. Colombia is a different situation, but it depends on we would like to get to the point where we can help facilitate adoptions.
So let's
say
wonderful. If you had 45 or 50 children that you're working with, what would be the success out of that? I mean, what do your numbers look like?
It's hard to quantify. You can't really quantify it. It's more qualitative.
Okay.
It's a matter of changing people's attitudes. You know, we try to take kids off the street. But the real goal should be to take the street out of the child. These kids have bad dispositions because of their background. So they have to be put into an environment that teaches them love, responsibility, caring for others, self-reliance, these things, so they can become successful. You know, what's the old Chinese proverb? You can teach a man how to fish,
right?
But if you teach a man... I mean, you can give a man a fish and you feed him for a day, right?
Right, if you teach him.
But if you teach a man how to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. So that's what our program, the Street Lights program, is about, teaching these kids how to become leaders to their peers. Because if I can help one of these kids become a successful leader, he's going to help dozens, perhaps even hundreds of other street kids.
Great. I've been speaking with Neil Millman. His phone number, again, if you would like to get involved in any way, shape, or form in his organization, Love at Work.
There's Martine right there. He's one of the young men that we're sponsoring right now.
This is great. The phone number to call is 801-372-1766, 372-1766. Neil, thank you so much for taking time to come and see us. And
thank you.
I saw Lynn come and go. I don't know if she's in the studio or not, but we're going to go to commercial break. And if we can find her, then we'll bring her on the air, and we'll be right back in about 5 minutes. Stay with us.
Hi, this is Mary Louise Zeller, independent distributor with Kyani. Also Blue Diamond executive with Kyani. I've had incredible success. I am also a 6th-degree black belt. I've been doing Olympic sport Taekwondo for 25 years. I'm a master instructor, and I've won 20 U.S. national championships, gold medal, and 9 world championships over the last 25 years in Olympic sport Taekwondo. That required a certain work ethic. I certainly couldn't say I had extraordinary talent. I even have the wrong body type for Taekwondo, and I achieved that success with hard work. I've taken that right into Kyani. I've tried network marketing before because I'm a person who has always used supplementation for health and high performance and anti-aging. And the products of Kyani, I think 2 of them are breakthrough products, one of them leading edge. And I've never found anything that made this much difference in my performance, health, and my commitment to an ageless body. But also, in this economy, I think we have been as ill financially as I've ever seen in our lifetime. I've watched my husband lose probably 75% of everything he built up over 65 years of work. And it has been my privilege with Kyani, and I'm seeing that the company you're with, is it well funded? Do the people have integrity? Do you have a product that's life-changing, makes a difference? Will people stay on this product? And I have about 85% retention of the people started 3 years ago because the products work. And then we have a plan that was developed by the Japanese, tested, and proven over 6 months in the Japan market, which is the largest network marketing market in the world. And the plan works. It promotes community and teamwork. What has always been promised in multi-level marketing and never delivered that I've ever seen, where people actually work supporting others to have the dream. And this plan pulls for it. It demands it. So if I'm committed to other people's success, my success is assured in the process. This plan works. It pays from the bottom up on everything. So many of the plans, they call it multi-level marketing because you're paid so many levels down from the top. It all begins with you. That's the infamous pyramid. As people that you bring people in, it expands, expands, expands. At some point, they cut you off, 9, 10, 11 levels. Probably 11 is the most I've ever heard of. But at some point, they cut you off from the biggest exponential growth. Doesn't seem quite fair to me because it all started from your effort. Kyani's plan, it's called a pay gate system based totally on volume, not structure. They can also, if you miss one piece of the structure, you just don't miss being paid on that one piece. You miss being paid commissions on the whole structure, and that's called breakage. That money goes back to the company or the people at the top, and that's how network marketing got its bad reputation. And this company is very fair, very just. They are committed. They actually are realizing something. I've said, gee, if you could empower the 98% who never make significant money in network marketing, wouldn't everybody make more money? It seemed logical to me. Kyani is proving that that is exactly the way to make the most money. They're a company that's going to go to $1 billion of sales in the next few years. They're going to make millionaires on the way. I personally plan to be one of them. I invite you to do that. The company works, the people work, they have integrity, the plan works. The timing. Timing is an essential element. Many companies that have been around for years and years, there's a certain saturation point. Everybody who's heard of them has chosen one way or another that they're not going to do that. Kyani, their marketing plan will change the industry. They pay the people who do the work the most, and they pay you on all of it. And they pay you for supporting other people. Many other companies will cut you off from all commissions if you produce a leader who's bigger than you are, who did more than you do. And I think that's a poor reward for bringing a strong leader to the game. And Kyani never cuts you off from commissions, even if leaders pass you in the game. And I think that's outstanding. And I'm loving this. I feel community like I've never felt anywhere in my entire life. It's changing me. I'm developing myself into a world leader. I'm traveling the world. I didn't know how to do this. I wasn't a professional at it, and I'm making more than most professionals, doctors, lawyers, Indian chiefs. I am making more money with them, and I am empowering other people. So the level of satisfaction I have, I can't believe people can use people and have satisfaction in it, really. They have to ignore those feelings. And I have deep, profound satisfaction. And as I grow in my ability to produce more money than I've ever produced in my whole life, I'm growing in my ability to lead others and in my ability to have more myself. And this company, Kayani, has transformed me. This is the invitation. Find out about it. Go to kayani.net. I'm sure phone numbers are given out every day. I encourage you, find out about Kayani. It's different. It really is.
We're back. I'm Pat Sheranian. My guest now is Lynn Millman Weidiger. I got it right. Goodness. And I do want to comment on Mary Louise Zeller. You just saw her on that 5-minute Kayani commercial. The phone number to call is 801-362-9552. 801-362-9552. Thank you, Mary Louise. We appreciate you. Well, it's good to have you here.
Thank you.
It's never easy to get here when you're
never
when you're trying to hit a mark on the stage, as they say.
Yep.
But we're glad that you made it. And now I'm going to tell you first my little story. I met Lynn a couple of weeks ago, and she was at a meeting, and she was handing out a painting, a copy of a painting, a 5x7. And it was so gorgeous. I said, "Who in the world painted this?" And she said, "She did." And I immediately wanted to know more about her. Now, you just met Neil. He was on the first half hour with me, and we talked about his very talented family. And it turns out, of course, that Lynn is one of the siblings. Are you older or younger? Who's oldest?
A little younger, 18 months younger.
18 months younger, okay. And I took this little card home, and the more I looked at it, the more intrigued I became with it and loved it. So then I called her and spoke with her, wound up meeting her and purchasing some of the cards, which I had said on the air. I had gone to 6 different stores trying to find a Christmas card that had said Christmas in it somewhere, or that had something to do with Christ and the Christ child. And here she had this 2 absolutely wonderful paintings. By now I had seen the picture not only of the nativity of the family, but of Christ. And I thought, well, we should all share in this. It turns out that there's a marvelous story behind both of these paintings. So with that, Lynn, tell us where you were born and raised, and did you move all the places he did? Now, he's world traveled all of this time. Were you an at-home mom, or what was happening to you?
As a family, we traveled a lot when we were kids, so we kind of got the bug early on. But not as many countries as Neil has been, no. No, he's definitely out traveled me. But I was born and raised in Massachusetts, Williamstown, until I was 8 years old, and then we moved out west. But before that happened, the foundation I'd like to talk about a little bit is how we came into the church.
Okay.
My parents, I think I was either a baby or wasn't born yet, but we lived way out in the country, Pat, and we lived up a road called Loose Road. It was out in the middle of nowhere. Beautiful surroundings,
Is
woods.
it farmland? Or?
Farmland, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Loved the farms, loved the animals. And my mother told me that there were 2 missionaries that tracked them out. Came all the way up that dirt road and found them. And she knew when she met them and talked to them for the first time, she had a very strong feeling that what they were teaching was true. And then right after that happened, they never came back a second time. Instead, that they were taken out of the area for 5 years. And she didn't even know what the name of the church was.
Oh, my goodness.
She didn't get that far. So later, 5 years later, she's driving down the road in Williamstown, and she sees these 2 young men wearing fedoras walking down the street, and she knew right away who they were. She knew that they were missionaries from the church, and she said, would you like to come over for dinner? How many missionaries would like that invitation? Well, of course they did. And at that point, they started teaching my parents, my family. We were very young. And my mother knew. She knew it was true. My father, he went along with the family, and we joined the church as a family because it's very family-centered. And unfortunately, though, when the missionaries taught lessons to them, he slept through every lesson. So he really didn't understand the full picture of the gospel at that time, but my mother did. And as a family, and then I liken ourselves as pioneers. We were new converts to the church, and my dad had a little trailer, and we decided to move out west in 1961. I was 8 years old. No job to go to, not sure where we're going to live, but we took five kids, counting myself at that time, with a station wagon, no AC back then. Very hot trip, but we traveled through all the beautiful sites across the United States on our way. Got to Utah, and the miracle of that was that within one day, my father was able to find a place for us to live. He found a job. We were in school immediately. We were in school, and that was in Sunset, Utah. And we ended up living in Utah for 3 years, and then we moved to Nevada in 1964, and then I had a baby sister. And so Carson City has become a home to my family. Is a dear part of my life as well, and that's where I graduated high school.
Oh, okay.
And
so that's kind of home now.
It's home. It's
okay.
I got a lot of friends still back there. My father lived there for many, many years after, so we had roots for a long time there. And but anyway, the story goes on that my father left the church, and not having a full understanding of it. He didn't judge it. He judged it by people, and of course we know that there are good and bad people everywhere in any faith or any ways of life. But he unfortunately did that, and so it had an influence on us children. So we fell away. As teenagers, we lost interest in that direction. But I always knew my mom always had the faith. She was always very strong, and I always knew that. But anyway, she, if I can remember where I'm at, okay. I went away. I left the church at 14, but then after I graduated, I went to the UNR, the University in Reno, Nevada, and some of her prayers.
A lot of Mormon kids there.
A lot of Mormon kids there?
Yeah.
Maybe now.
Yeah.
I don't think back when I went
you
there
the
were.
One lone?
I was probably one lone. But through my mom's prayers and her faith, she prayed I would meet the right people, and I did. I met some wonderful people that were LDS, and they certainly it made me think about things better and challenged me. And I started coming back a little bit at that point, but I was still sitting on the fence a little bit, deciding if this was right for me. And when I was 20, I was on a vacation with my father, Henry Millman, and we were we just went way back to the Midwest. On our way home, we were in a serious car accident, and we were pulling a trailer. It was raining that morning. The roads were wet, and I asked him if I could drive, so I'm responsible. But the road conditions were so bad that other cars were going off the road that morning, and so I was one of the unfortunate ones that had the serious accident.
Oh boy!
And it was a miracle that I'm alive here today, and I recognize that there was intervention.
Your dad okay?
He was seriously hurt, but he is okay. I ended up under the vehicle. It was a Jeep Wagoneer, and somebody, when they finally pulled me out from under the vehicle, one lady said it was a miracle. She said the way the hood of the car was bent just enough, the ground was wet just enough where I was, that it didn't completely crush me. But it crushed me enough that I ended up they transferred me to the Denver, Colorado, to the hospital, St. Luke's Hospital. And I ended up staying there for 2 months.
My goodness.
I had 5 major pelvic fractures.
Good grief, girl.
I know.
We're lucky to have you here.
I feel very blessed, and I knew it wasn't my time to go. I had a lot of changing to do in my life, so it was an opportunity for me to change my life around. And I was thankful for that. I had
Through
that.
the darkness came the light.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was given a second chance, and I knew that. And I'm trying to get emotional.
Does that lead to you becoming an artist?
Well, it leads to what I'm painting now.
Okay.
And that's why I share this story, because it's who I am now.
Okay.
Art has always been a part of my life since I was a little girl. Since I could pick up a pencil, art has been, it's been my salvation. It's been my self-esteem in school. It's been something that I felt good that I could do. And so the visit in the hospital stay was very hard, but there were great people from the church that would come and visit me that didn't know me, would come to the hospital and visit me.
So very kind.
Very. I couldn't believe it that people were willing to do that for me, and that changed my feelings about the church and its people. And I started thinking, there's something here. Missionaries came to visit me, and before I left the hospital, I had to learn how to walk again. Took a good year to recover, but they challenged me to read the Book of Mormon, and they left that with me. And
did you?
I certainly did. I couldn't do anything else. Rehabbing was
the Lord had to get you in a situation where you quit running around and sat still. Okay,
that's true.
Other people have had similar miracles happen this way.
It's true. Otherwise, I would never have taken the time.
Right.
But the miracle happened when I was reading the Book of Mormon, and I remember that I was home alone. My mom was out shopping, but I just remember being alone, and I just decided I'm going to start to read this book.
Good.
And as I started to read it, I don't think I even got past the first chapter. Maybe I was in the first chapter of the book. I had a miraculous experience. It's pretty sacred to share online right now, but
let's not share all of that.
We won't
but
share all of that.
Your life.
But it was so powerful that it definitely changed my life, and I knew without a doubt that what I was reading was true. And that paved my way to my life changed at that point, because knowing that was true, I went to school. I went to BYU, and I studied art, and I also I loved religion classes. I loved learning all that I could learn about the gospel of Jesus Christ, and while I was living there, I was living with my brother Dean, who was also a great mentor. He was one of my art mentors.
And we talked about
Neil
Dean.
talked about that.
We talked about him.
He really helped me to have that desire to be an artist as well. But after that experience, I went to BYU. I felt very strong to go on a mission. And the mission was the Denver, Colorado mission, Colorado-Denver mission, which was the same place that the missionaries first gave me a Book of Mormon.
Oh, that's interesting.
So I felt what a blessing to be able to go to the same place where they helped me. And it was a great experience. I learned a lot, and I just learned to love the people there. And after I was home from my mission, I continued my art. And then I married when I was 30 and started having children when I was 35. So I'm a little bit late.
A little bit late, but seasoned and wise.
Yeah, I guess so. I have 3 beautiful daughters. 2 are married now. They became my masterpieces, and I would tell people that they are my masterpieces. And so art slowed down a little bit for me having kids. It did, but I was led to some great people, some other artists, other mentors that really helped me along my path.
Good.
And one of them was, great teachers from BYU. I can't possibly list them all. There's so many great teachers that I studied under. But one of the later teachers was Frank Covino.
Okay.
And he travels all over the country sharing, his gift by being a master teacher and sharing the Italian Renaissance method of painting. So when you see the painting of the Savior or my...
Why don't we pull that? Can you lift that forward?
Sure.
Let's hold it up. And we've also got it online. But I'm going to let you describe it too. Let's put it on the table.
This is only a portion of the painting. It's a large painting. It's about life size, and it comes down to his waist. You can see it on the video. And
describe it to our radio audience, please.
Okay, for those who can't see it, I was inspired to do this painting, and I didn't have any model when I was inspired to do it. So he's looking straight at you. One thing I wanted to do is put the feeling of love into his face, so there's a connection. As you look at him, it pulls you in, and you could feel the emotions in his face. But I had to go through some very hard challenges for that to happen. When I started the painting, before I started the painting, I went to a high school reunion. It was my 20th high school reunion. Got reacquainted with one of my friends that was a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. She asked me if I would do a painting for her in exchange for doing genealogy work. And as she was speaking to me, she said, "Lynn, you need to paint the Savior." And I said, "Oh, no, I'm not ready." That was not something I was thinking about doing. Not that I didn't believe in him, I just didn't feel I was capable, worthy, or ready to do a painting like that. Right after that happened, I found my mentor, Frank Covino, and that's when I learned to paint in this method. And he gave me through studying with him, he gave me the confidence and the means to be able to do this painting.
Well, it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful, very sensitive. I love the way you've used the light. It's a very different face, very different type of face. I find it just absolutely intriguing. I've given it out to practically everybody I know for Christmas, and really have appreciated this. Let's give them a phone number, the listening audience and our viewing audience, a phone number and a website that they can order these or get hold of you to order them.
Oh,
okay?
Absolutely. The phone number is 801.
You got to get back in this microphone.
801-361-3453.
Give it again.
801-361-3453. And we also have a website that you can go on and see many pictures, my brother's works as well as other pieces of my artwork. It's www.millmanstudios.com.
www.millmanstudios.com.
Right.
Okay, can they order online?
I believe so, or they can contact us if they're interested.
All right, let's give the phone number one more time.
Absolutely. 801-361-3453. And our website is millmanstudios.com.
Now, you have this is a 16 by 18 by something?
That's a 12 by 16.
Okay.
It's a G-clay.
You have the 5x7s.
Have the different sizes.
Right, and hopefully next year you'll have more Christmas cards.
I hope so. I hope so.
Let's talk about the other one also before we run out of time. This is the one that I had first seen, and I thought that you gave me a copy of, and I thought, that's the one I have to have for Christmas card. And so that's what I wound up getting. So let's talk about how this came about.
This one I did before the Savior's painting. This was I was inspired on this painting when I found the people. This is a real family that modeled for me with a real baby, their mother and father, and I felt very strong about using them as my models. I photographed them, and then it wasn't until 5 years later that I even started the painting. I felt inspired that it's time to start this painting, and then it took me 3 years to complete it. It's a very large painting. It was a purchase award at the International Art Competition for the LDS Church in 2003. If you go up to the church building at Christmas time, I think it's at the Art and History Art Museum, you'll see this large painting, life-size painting.
Is that large? I had no idea.
It's almost life-size. Yes,
Kelly,
very
can you
large
put
painting.
up the picture right into the computer? We don't have that picture?
It's fine.
Okay.
But I wanted to tell you a little bit more about the picture of the Savior.
Okay.
How I have just a few minutes. I just want to share what happened in my journey to bring that painting about.
Then we should mention Lincoln. I don't want to totally not mention him. So
should we show him right now?
Well, at this point, I don't know. Can you hand this up to us, Neil? And let's put it in front of the camera.
This painting came. This I do have a story for. I don't have time to share right now.
This is Abraham Lincoln, and it's a wonderful, wonderful portrait.
This is a life-size painting as well. This is just a print.
Oh, my goodness.
This is a big painting, and it hung in the governor's mansion in Carson City during their 2000 celebration, Nevada Day, and it hung there for many years.
Where is it now?
They have a large print of it in place of the original. It's in the Capitol building in Carson City, Nevada.
Oh, wonderful!
So I wanted to leave something.
Yes,
Well,
so it's absolutely a wonderful, wonderful.
Thank you.
It looks like you could walk right out of the picture. That is
Thank
what
you.
we all think of him. Thank you, Neil.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we've got about 6 minutes left, so let's talk about why with the Christ picture.
Okay, the Christ picture came about after the reunion when my friend challenged me to paint Christ. It was 15 years later. I had, so to speak, a tap on the shoulder saying it's time to start. But at that time, the feeling came to me I can't use a model, and so that was very difficult. But anyhow, to keep a longer story short, I started working on it, and I started sketching, and I started just something. And I looked at different references to get ideas, and so for years, for maybe a couple of years, I'm just working on the drawing, on the sketches, and then I was ready to put color on it. And then I told my friend, guess what? I started the painting. And she's like, you did? Yeah, I've already started it a couple of years ago. And then we started corresponding back and forth and working together long distance to work on this painting together, basically. But during this painting, we were able to complete the painting at a certain point. And I knew just working together, it was very inspiring working with her. She's not an artist, but she knew how to help me spiritually to finish the work on this painting.
And this was how long ago? In 2003? Or did you start before then?
This painting started, a long time ago, probably 10 years
10
ago.
years ago?
When I first started it. But the journey has lasted many years, 5 years plus. And the journey is, during the time I was doing this painting, it ended up into a show, and it became the title piece. People were very interested in it, but I ended up in the hospital and for an emergency operation where I should have died. And actually, I experienced that. I believe I experienced
that. This whole
that.
process of you becoming the artist and the type of work that you're doing now seems to be a miracle in itself.
This whole journey has been a miracle, totally a miracle. And
we're glad to have you here.
Thank you, me too.
Between what your brother has gone through and what you've gone through, if we got the whole family in here, I'd say you're all walking miracles at this point.
That's very true. Because of time, I may not be able to share this whole story with you. But on the back of my painting of the Savior, it tells a brief story that I hope to have published in a book. All the miracles and trials that went with this painting, and I have a blog spot now just for this painting, so you can go on it and you could read the brief story. And it's
let's give the blog spot. No, go ahead.
Okay, it's paintingthesavior.blogspot.com. So
paintingthesavior.blogspot.com.
We'll share that story, the rest of the story that I started sharing today.
And if you didn't get all of that, the phone number is 801-361-3453. Is that it?
Right. Thank you.
361-3453. 361-3453. Now, you live right close by, not too far away.
I live in Santaquin with my husband.
And so you're close by. Are you going to be working on other pieces?
Absolutely. We're going to be doing Christmas cards next year. I'm going to be working with Pat, and we're going to do Christmas cards.
We're going to be doing amazing Christmas cards.
And have those available next year.
So I've told her she can't leave the house until after June, when I get at least 6 new paintings from her.
I'm going to have to work very hard. I'm a very busy lady.
Oh, we're so glad to have you here, and thank goodness you've survived all of the trauma that one seems to have to go through sometime to reach the depth or the height that we need to do, that the Lord wants us to, when He wants us to do His work.
I feel that.
And you have done that. I couldn't recommend her more highly. I love her work. I hope to see it more and more. Thank you for being with us today. We appreciate you on radio and through our streaming video. I want to thank the Daily Herald. I appreciate the ad that they have been running about our show. We appreciate them and the news. It's local news. It's also world news. Good people, good information, interesting and intriguing. If you haven't picked up a Daily Herald recently, go and get one, and then get yourself a subscription and stay in tune with what's going on in the news, through the newspaper And we're going to be giving news feeds from that paper starting in January. So hope you're getting ready for Christmas, and be safe out there when you're driving. Think about what you're doing and do something nice for someone else. Thanks so much for being with us. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.